22 Jump Street tells the story of two cops, Jenko and Schmidt, who go undercover to a college to infiltrate drug-related crime. And I certainly have to say that while I enjoyed the original, this film in particular was certainly a step above its predecessor. And much like the original film, it is quote-unquote self-aware, but in an extremely humorous way, and this film manages to actually undertake and explore the bizarreness to a certain degree, at the same time the lack of necessity and repetitiveness as well of sequels in film. And much like any sequel, the film's budget has increased, and thereby the scale has in fact increased as well, and ultimately, while the film certainly does do a few things here and there I wasn't incredibly happy about in terms of the largeness of scale at least, ultimately the film does derive a certain amount of leeway because of the fact that it acknowledges and expresses the purpose of those particular moments. And in this film we have Jenko and Schmidt, portrayed by Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, of course, and it's really interesting to see their relationship develop, how they have essentially been a yin to the yang of the one another, and ultimately that progressing, them in fact having issues, and really the emotions between them, increasing the emotional stakes of the film, something that I absolutely loved witnessing, leading to an interesting and in fact different conclusion from what I expected. And of course a film like this, being a comedy, needs to a certain degree at least, deliver in terms of humor, and this film certainly exceeded my expectations in that regard, because it's certainly interesting to witness almost the versatility in terms of the humor that the film really possesses. It manages to, of course, have hints and elements of what the original film managed to present to us in terms of humor, but at the same time it manages to add layers to that and not only shock but at the same time surprise you, and ultimately come across as what I believe is one of the funniest, if not the funniest film of the year. But despite all the extremely positive things that I have to say about the humor, ultimately there were one or two gags that I found a bit repetitive and didn't particularly enjoy, rather they didn't appeal to me, relating especially to a set of twins that live across the hall from Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum's characters. Nonetheless, I love the fact that the film really manages to embrace the fact that it's in college, show you some of the ridiculousness of college, and really embrace the wild aspect of what we expect to see in a college-based film. Ultimately, 22 Jump Street is certainly a fantastic film. I have to say that there are, of course, twists and turns within the film that really manage to add, in fact, to the story within it, although there are one or two in particular that I didn't really enjoy, to be honest. I certainly have to say that the film is flawed almost heavily to a certain degree with regards to certain moments that do tend to detract from the overall product, but I cannot help but deny that whenever I think about a particular scene, or in fact another scene or scenes that I enjoyed in general, that I get this extremely positive rush and emotion within me. And the fact of the matter is, as I was walking out of the film, its flaws certainly felt far more apparent to me at the time, but now that I've allowed it to settle in a bit, I can certainly say that 22 Jump Street is one of the year's best films. And while I don't discuss the rating that I have given, and rather I just give it, in this particular case it feels necessary because it just managed to scrape my highest rating because of the fact that I enjoyed this film a bit too much, and its flaws are in fact, in this case, while existent, more of an afterthought. I'm gonna give 22 Jump Street a triple yes.